Good morning, children. In today's class, we are going to study a lesson. Robinson Crusoe discovers a footprint. The topic of the lesson is Robinson Crusoe discovers a footprint. Discovers means it is nothing but it is a finding. Okay, so Robinson Crusoe is a person. He finds footprint. What is meant by footprint? This is called a footprint, a mark that is left on the ground or on the sand by our foot. They are the impressions or the images that left behind by a person while walking or by running. So you can able to find these footprints while playing in the seashore. So you can able to find it very clear. Robinson Crusoe's ship had been destroyed by the sea. He had been alone for many years and longed for company. One day he discovers a footprint on the sand. Let's find out what he did then. So, Robinson Crusoe is living in an island, okay? He is having a ship and his ship was destroyed. It has been damaged by the sea. He was staying alone for many years in the sea. He is longing for a company to come because he feel very loneliness. One day he has been discovering a footprint on the sand. So let us see what happens after that.
At last I returned home very frightened, looking behind me after every 2 or 3 steps, mistaking every bush and a tree to be a man. At last I returned home very frightened. So I refers to the Robinson. Okay, I refers to Robinson. So Robinson was very frightened. Look at here. The meaning of frightened is afraid. Okay, frightened, afraid. So Robinson was very frightened, looking behind me after every 2 or 3 steps. So what he is doing? He is looking behind him. Behind means at the back of him. Okay. So after going 2 or 3 steps, he looks at the back of him, mistaking every bush and tree to be a man. So he was very frightened to see even a bush or a tree that it might be a man. At last I returned home. So Robinson is going to home very frightened. He was very afraid, looking behind me after every 2 or 3 steps, mistaking every bush and tree to be a man. When I came to my cave, I ran inside it as if I was being chased. I do not remember whether I used the ladder or went in by the hole which I call the door. So what does Robinson says? When I came to my cave. So what is the meaning of cave, students? When I came to my cave, I ran inside it. So Robinson is going to the cave and he is running. Okay, he is running to go inside the cave as if I was being chased. So he is thinking that someone is chasing him. What is meant by chasing? Following. Okay. So Robinson is very afraid that someone has been chasing him. I do not remember whether I used the ladder or went in by the hole. So after reaching the cave, Robinson was very much confused whether to go inside the cave through the ladder or by the hole, which I call the door. So here they are comparing the door to the hole. Okay, he is very much confused to go inside the cave whether through a ladder or through the hole. When I came to my cave, I ran inside it as if I was being chased. I do not remember whether I used the ladder or went in by the hole, which I call the door. Shall we read this once again? At last, I returned home very frightened, looking behind me. If after every 2 or 3 steps, mistaking every bush and tree to be a man. When I came to my cave, I ran inside it as if I was being chased. I do not remember whether I used the ladder or went in by the hole, which I call the door. Next, I ran faster than any animal would run. I did not sleep for that night. The more I thought about what I had seen, the more afraid I became. I thought it could be one of the savages of the mainland who had wandered out to the sea in a small boat. I ran faster than any animal could run. So Robinson is running very faster. Okay, he is running very faster than the animal. I did not sleep at that night. So he is very much afraid, and so he didn't sleep at that night. The more I thought about what I had seen, the more afraid I became. So he says that on seeing the footprint, I became very frightened. I become very afraid on seeing the print of the foot. I thought it could be one of the savages of the mainland. So what is the meaning of savages? Look at here. Savages means uncivilized people. Okay, savages, uncivilized people. So Robinson thinks that the footprint might be the savages who lives in the mainland, who had wandered out to the sea in a small boat. Wander means moving from one place to another. Okay, wandering, moving from one place to another. So Robinson thinks that the footprint will be the savages, that they are wandering. They are going from one place to another in a small boat. Okay, they are going in the sea in a small boat. I ran faster than any animal could run. I did not sleep at that night. The more I thought about what I had seen, the more afraid I became. I thought it could be one of the savages of the mainland who had wandered out to the sea in a small boat. Okay, now let us see what happens after that. Luckily, I was not on the shore at that time. But what if he had seen my boat? If he had seen the boat, he would have realized that someone lived on the island and would soon return with others to kill and eat me. So he says that when the savages came, I was not on the shore. But what if he had seen my boat? So he is very afraid of thinking that if they have seen my boat, they will come to know that someone has been living in this island. If he had seen the boat, he would have realized that someone lived on the island and would soon return with others to kill and eat me. So he is very frightened of thinking about these savages, that they might come and they will kill me and they will also eat me. And so I lay fearful for many days and prayed for protection. In doing so, I was much comforted and began going out to investigate. And so I lay fearful for so many days. So Robinson was very fearful. So what he did do? He was praying to the God. Okay, he was praying to the God for his protection. In doing so, I was much comforted and began going out to investigate. So the meaning of investigate is to find, okay, to find the reason that why the savages have come to the island. But even now, I went forward, I looked behind me frequently because I was still very frightened. So Robinson says, even now if I go forward, I feel very afraid because I feel that someone has been chasing me. So I look at the back of me each and every second. However, as I went about for 2 or 3 days and saw nothing, I became a little bolder. So after 2 or 3 days, he became much bolder. He was very confident. I decided to go down to the shore again and examine the footprint once more. So Robinson decided to go to the shore and to examine. See, the meaning of examine is to find out. Okay, the meaning of examine is find out. So he decided to go to the shore and to find out whose footprint it was. I decided to measure with my own foot mark. So Robinson is deciding to measure with his own footprint to that foot mark. As I came closer to the footprint, I realized that it could not be my footprint because I had not come to this spot of the beach since a long time. So Robinson realizes that the footprint will not belong to me because I didn't come to this spot of the shore. Secondly, as I place my foot alongside the footprint, it seemed larger than my own. So after that he is checking, he is measuring his own footprint, but he realized that it was not his own footprint because it was larger than him. My fear returned. I went home again, believing that there was someone there. So he was frightened very much, and after that he left that place. The island was inhabited and he realized that someone has been occupied the island. Okay, shall we read this? Luckily, I was not on shore at the time, but what if he had seen my boat? If he had seen the boat, he would have realized that someone lived on the island and would soon return with others to kill and eat me. And so I lay fearful for many days and prayed for protection. In doing so, I was much comforted and began going out to investigate. But even now, as I went forward, I looked behind me frequently because I was still very frightened. However, as I went about for 2 or 3 days and saw nothing, I became little bolder. I decided to go down to the shore and examine the footprint once more. I decided to measure it with my own foot mark. As I came closer to the footprint, I realized that it could not be my footprint because I had not come to this spot of the beach since a long time. Secondly, as I placed my foot alongside the footprint, it seemed larger than my own. My fear returned. I went home again, believing that someone was living there. The island was inhabited. Have you understood the story, student? Okay, now let us read the hard words once again. Frightened, affright. Frightened, affright. Savages, uncivilized people. Savages, uncivilized people. Wandering, moving from one place to another. Wandering, moving from one place to another. Examine, to find out. Examine, to find out.
This is the picture of a cave. A cave is a natural opening in the earth that has large enough space for human exploration. Caves are large. It has a natural holes beneath the surface of the earth.
One day, when I was going towards my boat, I was surprised to see the footprint of a man on the sand. I stood amazed. I listened. I looked around me. I could neither hear nor see anything. I went up higher to look down. One day when I was going towards my boat. So here I refers to the person Robinson Crusoe. Okay, I refers to Robinson Crusoe. When I was going towards my boat. So what is meant by boat, children? What do you see in this picture, children? So this is the picture of a boat. Okay, where do you see this? You can able to see this boat in the sea or in the river. For what this boat has been used and by whom this boat has been used? This boat has been used by the fishermen to catch fishes in the sea. Okay, you have already seen in the sea or you have travelled in this boat. So Robinson is going towards this boat. Okay, I was surprised to see the footprint of a man on the sand. So what did Robinson notice? He noticed a footprint. And how he reacted? He was very surprised. See, the meaning of surprise is astonishment. Okay, very happy. He was very happy to see the footprint on the sand. One day when I was going towards my boat, I was surprised to see the footprint of a man on the sand. Okay, it was the footprint of a person. I stood amazed. I listened. I looked around me. I could neither hear nor see anything. I stood amazed. So the meaning of amazed is great surprise. Okay, amazed, great surprise. So Robinson was very surprised to see the footprint. I listened. I looked around me. So he is listening. He is listening and he is looking around him if there is any person. I could neither hear nor see anything. So he says that I can't hear any sound and I didn't see any person around the sea. I stood amazed. I listened. I looked around me. I could neither hear nor see anything. I went up higher to look down. I went up higher. So Robinson is living in an island. Okay. So he went to the top of the island and from that he is looking down to see if anyone is there in the shore. One day when I was going towards my boat, I was surprised to see the footprint of a man on the sand. I stood amazed. I listened. I looked around me. I could neither hear nor see anything. I went up higher to look down. Look at here, the meaning of shore is the land along the edge of a sea. Okay, shore, the land along the edge of a sea. So if you go to the sea, where you will play on the seashore. Okay. Next, I went up the shore and down the shore, but it was no good. I could find no other footprint but that one. I went up the shore and down the shore. So he says that and I went up and down to the shore, but it was no good. So he says that but I can't able to find anyone in the shore. I could find no other footprint but that one. So Robinson says that I can able to find only one footprint and I can't able to see the others. I went to it again to see if there were any more footprints and to tell if it had been my imagination. He went all around the shore to find the other footprints, but he doesn't able to find it. And he says that and to tell if it had been my imagination, and he is thinking that it would be my imagination. I saw the footprint but it would be my imagination because I can't able to find any other footprint than this. I went up the shore and down the shore, but it was no good. I could find no other footprint but that one. I went to it again to see if there were any more footprints and to tell if it had been my imagination. But I was not mistaken, for there was exactly the print of a foot, toes, heel, every part of a foot. I could not imagine how it came there. I stayed long time thinking and became more confused. But I was not mistaken, for there was exactly the print of a foot. So Robinson says that it was not my imagination. I noticed the footprint. It was exactly the print of a foot. So he says that it looks same as the print of the foot of a person. So he notices the toes, heel and every part of the foot. So what does he notice? He noticed the toes, heel, fingers and every part of the foot. I could not imagine how it came there, but Robinson doesn't know how the footprint came there because nobody was there in the show. I stayed long time thinking and became more confused. So he was thinking how the footprint came and he became very confused. Okay? But I was not mistaken, for there was exactly the print of a foot, toes, heel, every part of a foot. I could not imagine how it came there. I stayed long time thinking and became more confused. Shall we read from first? One day when I was going towards my boat, I was surprised to see the footprint of a man on the sand. I stood amazed. I listened. I looked around me. I could neither hear nor see anything. I went up higher to look down. I went up the shore and down the shore, but it was no good. I could find no other footprint but that one. I went to it again to see if there were any more footprints and to tell if it had been my imagination. But I was not mistaken, for there was exactly the print of a foot. So he notices the toes, heel, every part of a foot. I could not imagine how it came there. I stayed long time thinking and became more confused. Now let us read the hard words once again. Surprise, astonishment. Okay, it is of happiness. Amazed, great surprise. Amazed, great surprise. Shore, the land along the edge of a sea. Shore, the land along the edge of a sea. Okay students, this is for your home assignment. Okay, write the keywords, synonyms, antonyms, past tense in your classwork note. Write the keywords, synonyms, antonyms, past tense in your classwork note. Hope you all enjoyed the class. Thank you students.